Hey Rope Droppers, welcome back to another episode of the Rope Drop Pod. If you are confused about how to utilize Genie or Genie Plus while visiting the Disney parks, you've come to the right place. I'm going to break it down for you, so hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into the video. What is the Disney Genie system? It is a comprehensive planning tool designed to help guests optimize their park experience. The Disney Genie system consists of three main components: Genie, Genie Plus, and individual Lightning Lane. Disney Genie is the first tier of the Disney Genie system. It includes a complimentary digital service available within the My Disney Experience app. If you have never used the My Disney Experience app, it is an app that helps you get around Walt Disney World, showing you wait times, telling you where to find characters, mobile ordering food, and more. The tip board through Genie allows you to select your favorite characters or rides that are must-dos for you. Genie will automatically create a custom itinerary based on those preferences for you. So Genie is that free version of this program. I don't use this version of Genie. It doesn't allow you to skip any lines. As someone that kind of goes a lot, I just don't really need that because I kind of know what I want to do and when I want to do it, sort of thing. I feel like this could be useful for somebody that doesn't go to Disney very often, but as far as like me, I just kind of skip the free version of Genie. For a long while, I was very confused of like the Genie Plus and the Genie. Like I just didn't quite understand the difference, but you know, as time has gone on, I've kind of figured it out. But Genie, I don't use. What are your thoughts? Have you used Genie before?
I don't really use it either. I think for the same reason as you, I just don't really need it. Like I don't need Genie to help me figure out what I like at Disney or like what I should go do. But I kind of feel, and I probably shouldn't even say this because I really haven't used it that much for that reason, but I do feel like that's kind of Disney's way of like trying to kind of like manipulate the crowds, because I feel like they'll be like, oh, you like this? You should go ride the teacups right now. And you know, like instead of going to something that you could like, you know, really, what, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they're kind of just trying to like manipulate the crowds where they want them rather than actually telling you like what might be your best move. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it kind of seems like that.
That's a good point. I will be honest. I've never used it. I've like kind of messed with it before, but never to the point of like, oh, I'm going to follow this. So I would be interested to see exactly how it plans out your day in the parks. So like maybe I'll try that next and just see what it does. But you're probably right. It's probably going to pick a lot of things that not a lot of people go to try to like move crowds elsewhere.
I feel like it's going to be like, if you love this mountain, next you should try the Astro Orbiter. And I'm like,
yes, exactly. That's kind of how I picture it as well. So Genie, always a skip for me. I've never used it. I'm just out on the Genie sort of thing. Second tier of the Disney Genie system includes Genie Plus. What is Genie Plus? Genie Plus is a paid service that allows guests to make Lightning Lane selections for certain attractions throughout the day. Guests can select one attraction at a time from a list of participating attractions and skip the regular standby lines. Disney Genie Plus also includes features such as audio tours and augmented reality experiences. This service is similar to FastPass and ranges in price from $15 to $35 per day and per person. I will say that there is a positive of Genie Plus. I know there's a lot of pros and cons. A positive for me is I really like that you do not have to reserve your rides 60 days in advance. Not only having to reserve dining, and then you had to do FastPass on top of that. It just kind of felt like a lot. So that's kind of nice that you just do it the day of and figure it out. But on the downside of that, and I know we've talked about it a lot, I won't spend a ton of time talking about that, you're on your phone all day long because you don't plan them in advance. So now you plan them when you're there. And so then you're just kind of scrolling constantly or refreshing and picking your next ride whenever that opens up. So that, I feel like that is a downfall, but I do like you don't have to reserve it in advance. We've talked about Genie Plus before. I do it. It's something I budget for every trip. It's worth it to me. I prefer not standing in a lot of long lines. So that's kind of how I feel about Genie Plus.
So many thoughts. Okay, so I'll try to be concise, which I'm not good at. I feel that it should be the same price whether you park hop or not, because honestly, you are gonna reserve the same amount of rides whether you're in one park or two parks. So I think the fact that Disney charges more for Genie Plus for park hopping is a complete and total racket, which Disney loves to make money, I know, but there's absolutely no reason that should cost more. I also think that it should be a set fee. I think that, you know, if it's going to be $25, it should be $25. I don't like the idea of, you know, it can fluctuate based on crowds and season and holiday and whatever, because I think that makes it really hard for first timers especially, but a lot of my clients to budget. Like they do want to budget for it. But when I have to say, oh, it could be anywhere from $20 to $35 per person per day, well, that's a big difference for a family of 4 or 5. Like that $15 difference for one person becomes, you know, a $75 difference for a large family. So I don't like that. You know, I'd like things to be a little more fair, but in general, yeah, I use it. I mean, it really makes your day better. I just did a half day in Hollywood Studios this past week. And, you know, I didn't get to the park until 1:30. I did not start riding things until about 2:45, and I still got 4 Genie Plus rides in, you know, by 6 p.m. when I had to meet up with a group. So in essentially, you know, 3.5 hours, I got to ride 4 things because I had been stacking since 7 a.m. that morning. Well, that was pretty awesome. So it definitely, for me, was worth the money that day.
Yeah, I agree with your point on the different price for the different parks and sort of thing. For a while though, was it the same? I feel like park hopping price, wasn't that added like somewhat recently? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you got to Hollywood Studios, you purchased Genie Plus when you got there in the afternoon, you said, and you still got 4 things.
No, we purchased it
okay.
first thing in the morning.
At 7 a.m.
So
okay.
So we purchased it at 7 a.m. and we didn't do any individual lightning lanes because we did not care about riding Rise of the Resistance. That was not important to us for that day. But yeah, we started stacking. So, you know, we did one right then. We did our next one at 10:30 when we were eligible. And we just kept stacking throughout the day and kind of changing the times as we could. But, you know, we got to do Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Slinky Dog, Tower of Terror, and one more I'm forgetting. But yeah, we knocked out 4, like I said, in about 3.5 hours. And if we had not had Genie Plus that day, no way would we have gotten probably half that done. So,
okay. So I guess kind of another pro of Genie Plus is the ride photos that you take that automatically goes on your My Disney Experience account, which is a great perk as well. Pros and cons. Do you prefer Genie Plus over FastPass?
To me, it's honestly the same thing.
Okay, yeah.
I agree with you. I did not like when we had to book fast passes 60 days out because do you remember back in the day, you would do dining at 180 days. That is 6 months out from your trip. And so you are over here freaking out about restaurants. And then at 60 days, you had to get back in there and do fast passes. And, you know, it was always like, oh my gosh, it's so far away. And it always was like, I'm planning my meals 6 months in advance. Like that was crazy. But I guess on the other hand, once you were there, you weren't glued to your phone so much. And I still wish that you could put Genie Plus on just all of your days as part of your package, because I would, just so I wouldn't have to get up every day and remember to do it and start the process over again. Like I would love it if it was just done deal. I've got Genie Plus for my trip, and now I just have to get on at 7 a.m. and book my first ride. Like that would be great.
I agree with that. That was a thing for a while. Why in the world did they stop doing that? Because you could add it to your package and then it's paid for. But
yeah.
The dining thing, when that was 180 days in advance, and now that it's 60, I'm just like waiting for them to switch back to 180 because I know they switched to 60 because of the pandemic. And I'm like, please don't go more than 60 days. But because sometimes I feel like 60 days is even like 2 months. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be eating, but it's a lot easier to plan over 180 days, obviously. But
and it is weird because like if my husband, like just tonight, he's like, do you want to get takeout tomorrow? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. But here I am being like, but I know I want to eat at Sci-Fi in 6 months. You know, it's really weird. Like, I'm going to want a burger on June 14th. So I don't know. It is very strange to think ahead like that.
Next here is individual lightning lane. What is individual lightning lane? In addition to Disney Genie Plus, guests have the option to purchase individual lightning lane selections for select high demand attractions. For instance, Hollywood Studios is Rise of the Resistance, Animal Kingdom is Flight of Passage, Epcot is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, and Magic Kingdom is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Tron. These individual lightning lane selections are separate from the Disney Genie Plus service and allows guests who bypass the standby line for specific attractions by purchasing access separately. I think this is where a lot of people get confused between the difference between Genie Plus and the lightning lane, individual lightning lanes. Individual lightning lanes they're separate from the Genie Plus, separate cost. You actually do not have to purchase Genie Plus in order to purchase a lightning lane. When I'm going, I I have always done Genie Plus, and then if I purchase a Lightning Lane, I already have Genie with the Lightning Lane. I've never only purchased a Lightning Lane, but I know that's a possibility. I think it kind of depends on the park that you are visiting if you need a Lightning Lane. Like Animal Kingdom, Flight of Passage has a regular standby line. So if you rope drop Animal Kingdom, you can go to that ride first, and then you're not paying extra to ride that ride. Guardians has a virtual queue in Epcot, so you could try for virtual queue, which virtual queue does not cost anything. And then there are times though I miss virtual queue, and then that is an instance where I'll use Lightning Lane. But it can get to be a lot. Like Genie Plus, you're already paying whatever price you're paying depending on the day you're there, and then also having to pay this extra cost that can also add up pretty quickly. Like it says, yeah, $9, but yeah, you're right. When you have multiple people in your party traveling, it can add up really, really quickly just to ride a ride. And so I think it's just kind of important to realize like what rides and what parks can you get away without doing Lightning Lane, and then try to prioritize those when rope dropping the parks or something like that. So
I feel like, Animal Kingdom, I don't really ever buy individual Lightning Lane for Avatar Flight of Passage, but that's because, I am a rope dropper, and we get there first thing and we go straight in line for that. And we usually knock that out and Navi River Journey if we want to do it. And then we Genie Plus the rest of our stuff all day. Not a problem. But I don't know. I am so glad. Like, I hate the money part of it. I hate the extra expense, but I am glad it's as an insurance policy, because do you remember when they first opened Rise of the Resistance and it was strictly virtual queue? And if you didn't get virtual queue, you were just out of luck. And I hated that. Not so much for me. I knew I'd be back another time, but I hated it for like my first time clients that were super Star Wars lovers, and they truly were there to ride that ride. That was the main thing of their visit. And then if they didn't get virtual queue, what a huge disappointment. So I am glad it's there as kind of that insurance policy. If you can't get the virtual queue, okay, let's go ahead and pay for it. Like, you have an option, which I think is nice.
Guardians is still only virtual queue, right? Like, you can't stand by Guardians?
Oh, no, you can't stand by, but you can individual Lightning Lane. Yes. So you can pay or you can virtual queue. Yeah. But I don't find it hard. Like, you're pretty much going to get a virtual queue for Guardians. I mean, like when Rise first opened, I remember I missed it the first 2 times I tried. Like, it was hard to get. But, Guardians, I've never really had too much trouble getting virtual queue.
Final thoughts about Genie Plus / Lightning Lane. I feel like I'm kind of just grouping these together. Genie Plus, I think that one is worth it at Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. I feel like if you purchase it, you can get a lot more things done within those parks. I think that you could get by without it at Epcot, especially since you have the virtual queue for Guardians and Animal Kingdom as well. I don't know. Now that I'm kind of thinking about this as I say it, Epcot, I don't know. Maybe is there a standby for Ratatouille? Or is it just...
Oh, yeah, totally. The only thing that you can't stand by in there is Guardians. So,
okay.
Yeah, and we do it for Epcot, depending on what we want to get done and how fast. Because, I do think, we don't ride Frozen. We have, but, we don't care enough. Fine, we're not going to wait in line, and we really don't care to Lightning Lane it. But I think if you're going to do Ratatouille, Test Track, Soarin', some of those biggies, I do think it's handy. Can you do the day without it? Yeah, but it sure is a heck of a lot more enjoyable, when you can jump through some of those quick ones. And if your kids really want to do Frozen, I don't want to stand in the Frozen line for, an hour and 45 minutes. I'd much rather get Genie Plus and Lightning Lane through that.
I would agree. I think it kind of depends on how often you go and the people you're with, for sure. So I think it's worth it. Definitely Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. If you're trying to narrow it down, at least those 2 parks, you should do that. Use Genie Plus in addition to rope dropping. So rope dropping, getting to the parks early, you can still utilize those Genie Plus options as well. That's just going to allow you to get things done, and you're avoiding all those lines, which nobody wants to stand in line all day.
The only thing I want to kind of round out by saying about Genie is that, and maybe Disney will listen to us. They heard us on the Muppet seats, right? So maybe they're listening. Maybe we're their current audience. I think that they should I think Genie Plus should come complimentary if you stay at a deluxe resort. I think that would be a really nice perk. I think that's one thing that Universal Orlando does that I think is awesome. If you stay at a premier resort, you have express pass all day, which means you can skip all the lines. And it's not like a Disney system where you have to pick and choose. You just get to, which is awesome. And it really makes your day great. But I do think that would be a super perk for deluxe guests. And I don't mean bundle in more price for the deluxe guests and then say it's free. I mean, actually, like, deluxe guests are paying enough per night. We all know that. So, like, let's give them a perk. Disney's made it pretty clear that they are now catering to affluent families. And it's pretty obvious. They want the affluent families. They want the high-level DVC and deluxe guests multiple times a year. So I think that would be a great perk to people staying deluxe. And I think as a travel agent, it would be wonderful if I could say, oh, and if you choose this resort, you've got complimentary Genie Plus for the week, because that would really be a big value for people.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a huge pro of Fast Pass, was that if you stayed at a Disney resort, you get those Fast Passes 60 days to have the opportunity to do that. And versus if you're not staying at a Disney resort, you can't do that. But that's a great point. I think that would be something that Disney should consider looking into.
Well, you know what? Maybe they'll hear us, and it's going to happen. Maybe in about 2 months it'll happen, and we can say it was us.
I know. I'd love it.
So there is still a perk to staying on property, and that is that although anybody can buy the individual lightning lanes at 7 a.m., when you stay on property, you can make your first regular lightning lane selection at 7 a.m. You do not have to wait until you get into the park. So you are able to stack one extra if you stay on property, which is nice. You can start the process at 7, and then you're just kind of a step ahead of somebody. And like you said, if you do that, you rope drop into your early entry into the park, get a couple things written, then you've really put a jump start on your day.
I don't think I knew that. I mean, I've always stayed at a resort, so I've never really thought about that. So interesting. Yeah. I didn't even know that. So if you stay at a Disney resort, you have the opportunity to book your first one at 7 a.m. rather than being scanned in to the park. Okay. Okay, good to know.
This is why you should book with a travel agent, people.
True that. Genie Plus can also sell out if it's a busier time of year. So spring break is coming up. Spring break season is a busy time of year. So if you are even slightly interested in having Genie Plus for the day of your visit, purchase it right at 7 a.m. On my most recent visit, I did not know this, but you can also purchase Genie at midnight the night before your park visit. Did you know that? I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it starts at midnight. So, if you're a night owl or you're up anyway, you may as well do it and you don't have to get up quite so early. However you want to work it. But yeah, I do tell people, when they're there during a busy season, my clients, I'm like, the earlier you want, even if one of you is an early bird and wants to get up and do it early, go ahead, get it purchased and know that you're set. Because the worst feeling in the world is like if you wait till right at 7 to purchase it, and then you're like, oh gosh, now I have to get a lightning lane, and now I have to do my individual lightning, and it's so stressful. So I'm always like, at least by 6:45, have it purchased, know that you're good, and then you're ready to go at 7 with whatever you need to do.
Yes, I know. I've totally been there where I'm like, multiple days of park going, and then I wake up at 6, set my alarm at 6:50 just so I can get up and get my Genie ready to go, and I'm like laying in bed half asleep. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do another park day, but you always figure it out. It's fine.
Or like I get so mad at myself because I'll be up and ready to rope drop, but I'll get up and I'll buy the Genie, and then if I don't actually set an alarm for like 6:58, then I'm over there like putting on sunscreen, braiding my hair, and sure enough it'll be 7:15, and I'm like, I didn't do it. And it's the worst feeling.
Yes.
You're like, no. Now it's this terrible like FOMO, and it's awful.
Yes. If you are staying at a Disney resort and you have at least 3 people in your party, you could have all of them sign in. You could also do this with 2 people too if you don't want an individual lightning lane. Have 3 people sign into your My Disney Experience account. One person is booking your first lightning lane that is with the Genie Plus that you purchase. Another person is purchasing an individual lightning lane if you're wanting to do that, so like Tron or Guardians or whatever it is. And then you have another person doing your virtual queue. So you could have 3 different people all ready to go right at 7 a.m. getting 3 things accomplished, and then that just kind of sets you up for success the rest of the day. So a small tip that if you are looking to accomplish more, have multiple people sign into your account.
We always say this, but like research what is worth a genie, what's worth a lightning lane and what's not. Like we don't want to hear that you lightning laned, you know, the teacups, Small World, and Philharmagic. Like that's heartbreaking to
Maybe
us.
that'll be
like,
my next video.
So,
like we'll just talk about, so now that we've talked about what Genie is, and the next one we can talk about what's worth it for Genie. That's a thought.
yeah, for sure.